we're going to be making sweetened condensed milk, homemade. That's not something I usually keep in my pantry, so we're going to make it homemade. I am tripling this recipe, so I have 6 cups of milk. So for every 2 cups of milk, you need 3/4 cups of sugar. So we're tripling this recipe. We need to dissolve the sugar and let it reduce till it's about half the volume. That's going to take a little time. See where the milk level is? And we're going to reduce this to half. Hello family, welcome back. If you're new here, welcome. I am Vicki and you're with Grammy in the kitchen. Where I work at, we did a Secret Santa gift exchange, and this one lady had my name, and she got me the perfect coffee mug. Thank you, Victoria. I appreciate it. So we're going to be making holiday sweets today. But first we need to make our sweetened condensed milk. That's what we got going. But let me tell you what we're going to be making. One of the recipe is called a quick chocolate bread. It's a chocolate loaf cake. I did make this once. Took it to our Christmas party at work and everybody loved it. So we're going to make that together. And I made this last year. It's from Becky from Acre Homestead. It's a recipe she did. Oatmeal chocolate fudge bars. They are so good. My family absolutely loved this recipe. We're going to make some easy fudge. That's one of the recipes we need, this sweetened condensed milk, as well as the fudge bars that we're going to make. That's why we're tripling this recipe. Then we're going to make some snowball cookies. So I hope you stick around, learn how to make homemade sweetened condensed milk with the true ingredients that you trust, that you know. There's no added ingredients in it. It's just going to be milk, sugar. The recipe I found calls for butter. I'm not sure I want to add that because I've made it before without the butter, plus a little bit of vanilla. Then we got all of our ingredients that we're going to need to make this recipe. I went ahead and took some butter out of the freezer, put it in the refrigerator yesterday, and this is sitting on the counter. We have 2 different kind of chocolate chips. We have a milk chocolate and a semi-sweet chocolate. We have walnuts, almonds, cocoa powder, powdered sugar, oatmeal, baking soda, baking powder, salt, sugar, flour, vanilla. All the basic baking ingredients. But first we need to get this milk condensed, let it cool completely before we can move on to the next step. So we have 1.5 cups of walnuts on this side of the baking sheet, and 1.5 cups of almonds on this side. I need to toast these. So I have the oven set for 300 degrees, and we're just going to toast these slowly. About every 10 minutes we're going to come in here and give it a good toss until they're fragrant. The almonds will show a little color, which is fine. The walnuts should show a little color and get a little darker. Should take about maybe 10-15 minutes. And about every 5 minutes we're going to go in and give that a good toss. So the nuts are in the oven toasting. We still have about 20 minutes left. The milk and the sugar is still sitting on the stove, slowly condensing or reducing. So we're going to go ahead and start making that quick bread. So I have my 1 pound loaf pan. And I just want to grease it with some coconut oil. I'm going to line it with parchment paper. And we're just going to set this aside. We have the large mixing bowl. So 1/2 of cocoa powder, 2 cups of all-purpose flour, 1/2 cup of brown sugar, 1/4 cup of white sugar, 2 teaspoons of baking powder, 1/2 teaspoon of baking soda, 1/4 teaspoon of salt, 1 cup of chocolate chips. I'm using a semi-sweet chocolate chips. But we want to reserve 1/4 cup. That's what we're going to be sprinkling on the top. So in goes the remainder of the chocolate chips. I'm going to make sure everything is well incorporated. And we're going to add 2 eggs. These are farm fresh eggs. I get this from the lady I get my milk from. But we're going to crack them in a bowl first. One cup of milk. And then we need 1/2 cup of a neutral flavor oil. This is actually 1/2 cup of coconut oil that I stuck in the microwave. Melted the coconut oil, let it cool just a bit. So don't want to scramble the eggs that are in this bowl. Mix that in really well. And a teaspoon of vanilla. Just going to pour this into our prepared cake loaf pan. It's a very thick batter, but it is so delicious, guys. Oh my goodness, it's so good. Alright, spread that out as best as you can, evenly in the bottom of this pan. That's what we got. It's about halfway up this 1 pound bread loaf pan. The remainder 1/4 cup of chocolate chips going right on the top. And then we're going to bake this in a 350-degree oven for 50 to 55 minutes. It comes together very quickly, but takes a while to cook. After that time, we're going to put a toothpick in it to make sure that the center comes out clean. The last time I made this bread, it actually took 1 hour and 5 minutes. But we're going to start off with 55 minutes and check it and see if we need to cook it a little longer. The nuts have been toasting. They've got some color on them. Now we need to let these cool off completely before we can start working on these. Now before we go any further on the condensed milk, I want to make sure it's down to 3 cups. So I got a large measuring cup. Nope, we are at 5 cups. We're going to continue cooking this. still got a long ways to go on that. So now we're going to go ahead and make our snowball cookies. So in the stand mixer, you can use a hand mixer if you like, but I have 1 cup or 2 sticks of butter. We need this, beat this until it's light and fluffy. Make sure we're scraping the sides down periodically so that all the butter is getting nice and smooth. Then we're going to slowly mix in 3/4 cups of powdered sugar. Let that mix very well together. And then we're going to add 2 1/4 cups of flour, 1/8 of a teaspoon of salt. So this is our snowball cookie dough. Some butter, confectionate sugar, vanilla, salt, and flour. And it was 2 teaspoons of vanilla, just so you know. I think I forgot to tell you that. The chocolate cake, the 50 minutes was up, is not done. I got it for another 10 minutes. Alright, so I want to make sure we get this well incorporated. And I have 3/4 cups of walnuts that we toasted, chopped up in the food processor. Give that a stir. I'm just going to go in there with my hands and make sure the walnuts is well incorporated in this dough. I'm just kneading the walnuts in. I'm going to transfer to the small bowl. Cover it with plastic wrap. And this needs to be chilled in the refrigerator for a minimum of 30 minutes, but up to 3 days. You can make this ahead of time. Have it in your refrigerator until you're ready to bake it. So we're gonna go ahead and put this in the refrigerator for a minimum of 30 minutes. So we're letting that sit in there. The chocolate loaf bread cake is in the oven, and we're still working on our condensed milk. So our sweet and condensed milk finally reduced from 6 cups of milk to 3 cups. Because this recipe is tripled, we need to add a total of 12 tablespoons of butter. So that's 4 tablespoons per recipe. So we're just going to slowly add in the butter until it melts. It is still hot. I just took it off of the stove. We're just going to stir that until the butter melts. And I'm going to put this in the refrigerator until it cools off, because we need the same temperature as a canned condensed milk for our recipes. But you can actually put this in a mason jar, store it in your refrigerator for up to a week. So you can actually make this a week before you want to make your fudge, or as we're making today, the oatmeal chocolate fudge bars. And that way this is ready for you when you're ready to make it. Our chocolate loaf cake is done. It did take an hour and 10 minutes. I'm going to put this aside until it cools off. And then I went ahead and decided I was going to make the snowball cookies with the almonds. So I just followed the same recipe as the walnuts. And I put some almonds in the food processor. That was 3/4 of a cup of toasted almonds. And just like the other cookies, this needs to go in the refrigerator for a minimum of 30 minutes up to 3 days. And it's been about 45 minutes since for the first one. Let's go ahead and get this ready to get in the oven. So I've got the large baking sheet. Now we need to make these 1 tablespoon big, and this is the one with the walnuts. Same parchment paper we used to toast the walnuts and the almonds. It's not going to make any difference. I'm going to 1 tablespoon shape into a ball. Alright, it says I should be able to get 36 out of this mixture. Alright, so I'll bring you back once we get them all rolled up into a ball, just before we put them in the oven. And it's going to be just like, and there we go. So we have 24, and we're going to bake these for about 15 minutes, 350-degree oven, until they're lightly golden brown. And I have the small baking sheet with parchment paper. We're just going to continue until we run out of cookie dough. That has been 15 minutes. That is the first 24. Now we're going to put the 12 in. For another 15 minutes on the 12. But we need to get these off the pan and let them cool for 5 minutes. And we have to roll these in powdered sugar. I'm going to let the pan cool off before we go any further. So I have 2 cups of powdered sugar. Now we're going to toss these into the powdered sugar to get a nice coating on it. You want them warm, you just don't want them hot. Make sure they're well coated in that powdered sugar. And that is the first plate of the walnut snowball cookies. I'm going to finish the walnut cookies, then I'm going to move on to the pecan cookies. And then hopefully that condensed milk has cooled off where we can start on the oatmeal fudge bars and the fudge. We're getting ready to make the fudge. But as a disclaimer, this is the first time I've ever made homemade fudge using homemade sweetened condensed milk. So you and I together are going to find out if this works or not. Let's hope and pray it works. Because then we know we can get we already get good milk from a local herd share. We know we get our sugar from Azure Standard, so it's an organic cane sugar. So those 2 ingredients are good quality ingredients. Plus our butter, we get that in bulk from Azure Standard. We know that's good quality butter. So the sweetened condensed milk is made with good quality ingredients. So if we can successfully make fudge out of homemade condensed milk, this will send fudge making to a whole nother level. A whole nother level. So the recipe calls for 3 cups of chocolate chips. I'm using 2 cups of the semi-sweet and 1 cup of the milk chocolate. And it says a 14-ounce can of sweetened condensed milk. I went ahead and measured out 1 3/4 cups of the sweet condensed milk that we just made, still in the refrigerator cooling off. So as soon as the last bit of the snowball cookies come out of the oven, we're going to start making this fudge. Hopefully, with the homemade condensed milk, it will turn out good. Let's hope and pray. So we have a 9x9 baking sheet that I lined with parchment paper, one going this way, one going this way, to put our fudge in. So this is just 3 ingredient fudge. So like I said, I've got the chocolate chips in this pot are 14 ounces or 1 3/4 cups of condensed sweetened milk. And we're just going to cook this on low until the chocolate chips melt. The last of the almond snowball cookies come out of the oven. Want to make sure you're scraping the bottom of the pan and we're not burning the chocolate. Look how beautiful that is. Can you see that? Silky smooth. We just want to heat that until all the chocolate chips are melted. The recipe says we need to heat this until all the chocolate chips are melted and it turns into a shiny color, which I think we are almost there. Oh, look at that. It's beautiful and thick. Oh, yummy. Right, I think we are there. Burner off. Now we're going to add a teaspoon of vanilla. Now we're going to pour it into our prepared casserole dish. So now we need to just let this sit for a couple hours and then we can cut into it. So just set this aside. I only have one more recipe to make, and that is the oatmeal chocolate fudge bars. Like I said, this is Becky's from Acre Homestead's recipe, but got a slight problem. It takes 2 cups of brown sugar. I need to check to see if I have 2 cups of brown sugar already made. If not, I'm going to have to make some brown sugar. But in the meantime, let me get the kitchen reset so we can move on to this recipe and then we'll be done. So this recipe is pretty straightforward. And I did have enough brown sugar and just enough. We're definitely going to have to make brown sugar the next time we want to make something sweet. But today, we're okay. So you have to cream 1 cup of butter with 2 cups of brown sugar until it's light and fluffy. Then you're going to add 2 eggs, 1 egg at a time, and 2 teaspoons of vanilla. Mix that very well. Then we're going to add 3 cups of old-fashioned oats, 2.5 cups of all-purpose flour, 1 teaspoon of baking soda, and 1 teaspoon of salt. That is the base of our fudge bars and plus the top layer. Then we have to make our fudge In the stand mixer, I have the brown sugar and the butter. I need to cream that, add the eggs, the vanilla, and in here I have the flour, the oats, the salt, and the baking soda. So that is our oatmeal bottom and top for our bars. Now the fudge sauce is 12 ounces of semi-sweet chocolate chips, 14 ounces of sweetened condensed milk. It's 1 3/4 cups of our homemade condensed milk, 2 tablespoons of butter, a teaspoon of salt, and a teaspoon of vanilla. Her recipe shows to do this in a microwave. I prefer not to cook or melt my chocolate in the microwave, so I'm actually doing this on the stove top. We're going to put the chocolate chips and the condensed milk in a pot, just like we did with the fudge, until the chocolate is melted. Then we'll turn the burner off, add our butter, mix that in really well, and then we'll add our vanilla last. Then we'll come back over here to the island and build our bars. So I have a 9 by 13 casserole dish that I coated with coconut oil. And we need to put 2/3 of the brown sugar oatmeal flour mixture in the bottom. Alright, let's push that down. Trying to get it into a nice even layer on the bottom. Now we're going to pour a fudge mixture right on top. Spread that evenly across that oatmeal crust. And the remainder of our oatmeal, we're just going to take little dollops, flatten it out a bit with our hands. Try to get it as thin as possible, somewhere between 1/8 of an inch to 1/4 of an inch. And then lay that right on top. That way we don't have to disturb the fudge center, smushing this down in there. Doesn't have to be perfect. It's almost like a Play-Doh consistency, which is perfect. I'm sure you can add walnuts or pecans or almonds, whatever you like. But I figured since we have the almonds and the pecans in the cookies, We don't need to add any to this. And we're going to bake this in a 350-degree oven for 25-30 minutes. We're going to make sure it's a golden brown. It's going to be delicious. And we are done. Besides cutting up that chocolate cake, cutting up that fudge, the oatmeal fudge bars are ready. Let's get those out of the oven. They took a total of 40 minutes. But isn't that beautiful? But there we go. Need to let this cool off before we cut it. Our snowball cookies, our chocolate loaf cake, and our fudge. Once the oatmeal fudge cookies cool off and we'll be able to cut into this, we're going to do a taste of everything. So don't go anywhere. It's going to be a delicious tasting in a minute. So our chocolate loaf cake. Go ahead and take it out of the pan. Look how beautiful that is. Oh, that's gorgeous. I have a serrated knife. We're going to cut it about 1/2 inch. Here you can see the chocolate chips inside. Oh, that looks beautiful. Nope. I need a bigger plate. That is our beautiful chocolate loaf cake. Oh, gorgeous, gorgeous, gorgeous. And this is our oatmeal fudge bars. last thing we need to cut is our fudge. I feel like the fudge needs to sit a little longer, so I'm going to put this in the refrigerator just so we can taste it. Alright, so I want to taste a little bit of our oatmeal fudge bars. I don't want a whole piece of cake, but I do want to give it a taste. And then one of our snowballs. This is the almond snowballs. Alright, let's taste the chocolate chip fudge loaf cake. That is really good. Oh, perfect amount of sweetness. Really good. The oatmeal fudge bars. The fudge cream is ooey and gooey with that oatmeal cookie type crust. That's really good. Our snowballs. Perfect amount of crunchiness. Right amount of nuts in that. So good. Oh, that's so good. And the last thing is the fudge. It still needs to sit just a little bit longer. And I'm hoping that homemade condensed milk will get to the right consistency. But it is good. Oh, that is really good. I just want to say thank you for hanging out with me today while we made 4 delicious holiday sweets from things that we already had in our pantry. If you don't mind, give this video a thumbs up. While you're at it, please subscribe. I would love to have you part of the Grammy family. Are you making holiday sweets to give as a gift or for a party or as a hostess gift to someone else? Leave a comment below if you're going to be doing some holiday sweets this season, and let us know what you're making. This is what we're making. This is what we're giving to co-workers, and just enjoy during the holidays. Right over here you'll see 2 videos. Go check those out to the next upload. They'll either give you a chuckle or inspire you to get in your kitchen to make a real delicious homemade real ingredients meal, even if it's sweets. Until next time, y'all have a blessed day. Bye, family.